Hi, welcome to Proverbs in Denim. The last time I read a verse of scripture, I think it was Proverbs 11 and verse 26. I read that the people will curse him who withholds grain, but the blessing is on the head of him who sells it. Guess what? This time I'm going to be reading the very next verse, and it's Proverbs 11 and verse 27. It says, "He who earnestly seeks good finds favor, but trouble will come to him who seeks evil." Now, notice that you have to earnestly seek good, but you can just seek evil. Now, why is this the case in this verse of scripture? Because by default, human beings have a way of seeking evil by default. And evil doesn't necessarily mean evil as you guys know it, but it means you seeking negative stuff. By default, you would always spot, that dots on that white shirt that stains that white shirt. You will always notice it. The entire shirt may be ironed though, but you won't notice it, right? You would always spot that pimple, on somebody's cheek. Every other portion of his face is clean, right? Clean, fresh, but you will notice that one dot, that one pimple. And by default, human beings have a way of just seeking the negative thing, seeking evil, right? So you don't have to put in any effort. Exactly, that's it. You don't have to put in any effort to find negativity. Most people are wired to just see stuff like that, right? However, because God recognizes that human beings can be that way, he says you should earnestly, meaning put in the work, put in the effort to find something good, to find something to compliment somebody about, to find one good attribute or the other that person has. You have to earnestly seek out good. And guess what? It says, it doesn't say that when you seek good, you will find good. No, it says when you seek good, you will find favor, right? You will find favor. Let me give you a practical example, that explains how this thing works. A couple of years back, I happened to travel with one of my mentors, Fela Dorotoye, to Gombe. When we got to Gombe, we got out of the plane, and I had never experienced heat like that before. Right, Gombe is a very hot town. It shares borders with the sun. When we got out, I'm like, why is this place hot like this? Next thing, right in front of me, what do I see? I see a guy that's fully clad, in his Hausa regalia. He had the turban around his head. He was fully clad with a kaftan. And in that moment, I was like, why in heaven's name would somebody dress like this under the sun? My default posture, like every other human being, I suppose, right, was to see the negativity. Right. And next thing, fella comes to me and he taps me and he says, "Bankole, can you see that guy?" So in that moment, I thought, hey, this guy was sharing my view. And then he goes, "Bankole, can you see the detailing of the embroidery on his outfit?" I'm like, dude, where are you from? He now goes that, Bankole, his turban. Can you imagine how much time it must have taken this guy to wrap his turban around his head? It looks like a beautiful piece of art. And fella goes on, and as he's describing this gentleman, fella is very, passionate and all, and this guy looks in our direction, and he must have assumed we were talking about him, and fella looks at him, and he feels compelled to go greet this guy. So fella walks up to this guy and, introduces himself, says, "Hi, my name is Fella. I was just telling my friend here about how lovely your outfit is. I love the detailing of the embroidery. Your turban. I can imagine how much time it must have taken you to put this thing, on your head. It looks like a beautiful piece of art." And as he was describing this guy was literally smiling from ear to ear. Next thing, another guy dressed as this guy, walks in our direction. And this guy feels like, I've made a new friend. So he feels the need to introduce his lookalike to fella, right? And he goes, lookalike, meet my new friend, fella. Fella meets the commissioner of education in Gombe State. I was like, huh? This guy. And then, fella in that moment engages the guy in conversation, and he begins to talk about, something he had done with Oyo State, where he trained about 50,000 kids on the secrets of academic excellence and how it significantly improved, their SSC ranking, and how he could do the same in Gombe State. And this guy was literally enthralled. He was like, fella, we need to have a sit down to see how you can implement this thing in our state. This is amazing. Right there, guys, before I literally saw the opportunity for a transaction to take place. I saw favor come somebody's way because he sought the good, whereas I saw the evil, or I saw the negative thing. Now, I learned something significant that day, that you have to earnestly, with intention, seek out the good, and favor will come your way. And on the flip side, here's the interesting thing. It says that he who seeks evil, trouble will come. Take note, it doesn't say that you will find trouble. It guarantees you that trouble will find you. Do you understand what I'm saying? That trouble will seek you out when you go with your default posture. See, you cannot afford to look at life, the default way you normally would. You have to be very intentional about seeking good. How do you do this? You have to ask yourself one question, seemingly dumb question that a lot of people, would wonder, why would you ask such a question in a situation like this? We're in a pandemic. Some people have said, 2020, can I just dissociate from you? Can I rewind the hands of time and assume that this year did not exist? But I'm telling you, even in this crisis, I know it is tough, but you have to intentionally ask yourself the dumb question: what is the good in this? Simple question. Anytime you're going through a tough time, going through a crisis, ask yourself this question: what is the good in this? In the moment, you may not find it, but the brain is a goal-seeking organ, meaning that the question you ask the brain will begin to look for resources to find the answers to that thing. So the minute you embrace that question as a task for your brain, it will begin to supply you with information. Some people have found opportunities in this crisis. Some people have seen that there are opportunities hidden in problems, and those opportunities can literally put money in their pockets. So guys, this is my challenge to you. This is my charge to you. Today, not just today, in this period, go out and ask yourself this seemingly dumb question: what is the good in this situation? And I hope that as you do this, I'm sure, I'm certain that as you do this, favor will find you and you will hide yourself from trouble. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you for listening. I look forward to connecting with you again on Proverbs in Denim.